So I guess my like first question for you is like, when did you know you like wanted to be an artist?
Uh, that's a little bit of a long story. I guess I was in college for biomedical sciences, and as a junior, had a close friend pass away, and just really reevaluated what I was spending my time doing.
Hmm.
So I switched from biomedical sciences to graphic design, which was a tough conversation with mom and dad, but they're cool with it. And then after I took a couple of drawing classes and painting classes, I was like, man, this is a lot more of what I enjoy and what I want to try to
Hmm.
do. And so I did that. Finished with got a bachelor in graphic design, and then I kind of backtracked a little bit, started selling insurance for a living, and did that for about a year, and got in a really bad car wreck. Uh, I hydroplaned on the interstate going like 70 miles an hour, no seatbelt on, and flipped three times across all three lanes of traffic, and opened my eyes up, and I was upside down in my passenger seat. Came out with just a couple scratches and some bruises, and so again, I was like, "What am I spending my time doing?" It could have been over right then and there. So I quit my job like the next week and decided that I was going to do hyperrealism charcoal portraits for a living. And then that's when I started going to open mics and playing songs. And then I started playing songs that I wrote.
Hmm.
And eventually someone was like, "Hey, man, how much do you charge for a set?" And I was like, "Whatever you're paying." And it's kind of been history since then.
Yeah, I mean that's first off like a wild story, and it's I bet it was kind of like hard to first go up there and do like open mics. I don't kind of talk about like going up there a bit.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, it's nerve wracking for sure, especially, it's totally different. In college, I played at like parties and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's different whenever you're in a comfortable environment and you've got your buddies around that are listening, but getting up behind a microphone for the whole bar, or, wherever you're at to listen is a totally different thing. And then, not only that, starting to share stuff that you wrote yourself, that's a whole different ball game too,
Yeah.
because people obviously like the covers because they wouldn't be popular songs unless somebody liked it already. But getting up there and doing something that is original is much more daunting.
Yeah. So what's like the songwriting process like for you?
Uh, it's I think it's different every time. Sometimes, usually, like my favorite songs that I've wrote are kind of stuff that just falls out. I'll sit down and it's like, I'll have the whole song wrote in less than 15 minutes and
That's
it'll
crazy.
be done. But sometimes, there's other songs where you'll write a verse or maybe a chorus or just one line, and you'll sit
Mhm.
there and end up working on the song for months before it's ever finished. But most of the time, the best ones fall out in like 10, 15 minutes and you're done.
Yeah. So you just dropped like your first EP. So what was like I guess that process like getting it out and everything?
Dude, it was I went into the studio thinking, it's a 5 song EP. I'll have this done in like a month. And it ended up taking me about 6 months because I'm a perfectionist and I wanted things to be very particular. So it's cool. It's kind of like just it's like raising a kid or something and then releasing it into the world. It's You're very protective over it at first, but it's almost like a weight off your shoulders once it's finally out there. So
Mhm.
I was happy with how it turned out. Dan at Mill Spring Studio was great and really easy to work with.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like hard to predict this one, but I always wonder like, do you know if a song is gonna like do well or not? You just
I mean, you never really know. There's definitely songs that I'm more confident are gonna do better than others. There's more risk involved with some of the like newer sounds and different things I go for. But I mean, you kind of have a pretty good idea as long as you're playing them out, what songs are received well and what songs aren't. So,
Mhm.
like on that one, on that EP, I knew that like Granny's song would do well just because of the response that I've had, playing it out and the short videos and stuff I have of them. But like a song like Cold October, Spanish Street Signs, I didn't play out too much, and it's a little bit different than what I normally do. So I wasn't positive how it was going to be received, but
Mhm.
everything's done pretty well. So
Yeah. So you headlined for Marty Stewart. What was that like? Yeah, you were with Marty. So what was that like?
I just so I won a competition to go and open for him at Master Musician
Yeah.
Festival in the summer of last year, and that was actually a festival in my hometown, and there was like 8 or 9 thousand people in the crowd, and so it was by far the biggest crowd that I'd played to at that point. And I'd only been playing music for like 6 months, so it was it was a little nerve wracking. I kept on waiting to get real like anxious and nervous though before I went up on stage, and it just never really happened. It's like I just wanted to get up there and do it,
Yeah.
more so than like being nervous about it. I was
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
So it was really cool. The next day, actually, a band had their van break down. If Birds Could Fly, and they were the last act on the smallest stage there, and they called me and asked me if I'd fill in for them whenever they found out that they couldn't make it. And so I got to do that. I ended up breaking the attendance record for that stage in festival history, and this is their 30th year. So it was pretty cool to have that
Yeah.
happen.
No, that's awesome and crazy. So I saw like you're playing the Foxfire Festival. Obviously that's gotta be pretty exciting. How does like an opportunity like that come up for you? Like what's
Um, most of most of the time, I am excited about that one. That lineup is awesome.
yeah,
There's a bunch of people on there I've been listening to for a long time, and I got a buddy like Nolan Taylor playing, so I'm
yeah,
excited for that. But stuff like that, I mean, I've only reached out to like 4 or 5 venues in my entire career, and so a lot of it is just word of mouth
mhm,
and people seeing things online, like that the video submission that I had for Gyms in the Rough has got me a lot of opportunities. Like I just went and opened for Matt Heckler on a little run up in Pittsburgh and West Virginia. So it's just most of it's just word of mouth. Once you have something that goes, semi-viral, I think that video on YouTube's got like, uh, did I lose you? You're like call just then.
I hear you.
Yeah, I guess that video on YouTube has like 220,000 views now or
Yeah,
something. So a lot of it's just people that have listened to me telling other people and it getting back to me.
yeah. So I guess like so growing up, like what was like one of the favorite like your favorite artists growing up?
Growing up, I listened to a lot of the Eagles and Journey and Jim Croce, a lot of classic rock. Whatever my dad was listening to is pretty much what I was listening to. Uh, in the country world, it was kind of Hank Williams Jr.,
Mhm.
uh, some Toby Keith, Kenny Chesney, stuff like that, Alan Jackson.
Yeah,
As I got older, though, it's changed to more of the local regional musicians. Like I was listening to Tyler and Sturgill,
yeah,
way before they were ever what they
yeah.
are today,
Hmm.
and then guys like Nick Jamerson. And since then, the more I do this, the more I find the local hidden gems that are,
Yeah.
just as good, if not better, than most of the mainstream
Mhm.
national acts. So that's what I listen to most of now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I guess it's like a hard one to answer, but why do you think some people make it and some don't, even though they're like you mentioned, some are just they don't get the is it the viewership or what is it?
Um, I'd say that I'm gonna let that phone ring. I don't know if they're gonna answer it or not.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'd say that most of it is work ethic. I think that a lot of people don't really realize how much effort you have to put in to something like this. How much
Yeah.
time I'm actually spending
Yeah.
working on stuff and going and making videos, or just constantly writing a song. Like I was always raised. My dad always said, if you spend 8 hours a day working on something, then you're just like everybody else is working a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You're not ahead of the crowd if you spend 12 hours on it, you're going to be better than average. But if you spend 16 hours a day thinking about it, working towards something, you're going to be the top 5%. So that's kind of the mentality that I go, or that I have whenever I look at what I do. I'm thinking about it all the time, every day, even whenever, I'm not physically doing anything, I'm at least thinking about it. So I think a lot of it is work ethic, but then there's also the factor of just dumb luck and, who there's politics and everything, unfortunately.
Mhm.
I found that out the hard way, that a lot of acts are booked just because they know somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so when you're out performing, what's like the funniest thing a fan has ever said to you? Is there like a story or something that comes to mind?
um I've had some wild stuff happen. I don't know. Probably the wildest thing that's ever happened is having, some drunk guy try to get up on stage while you're playing, like
Yeah.
just stuff like that. Dude, I had a guy walk up one time and asked me to play some Morgan Wallen, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Man, I don't really play that stuff." And he's like, "You play the chords and I'll sing it then." I was like, "No, man, I'm good." And he just turned around and started like went to the stairs and started walking up the stage, and we had to get security to get him. It was just
Yeah.
that's probably just stuff like that.
Mhm.
I can't really think of anything too crazy off the top of
Yeah.
my head. I can probably get back to you on that one.
Yeah, so you played a bunch of like cool venues. Which like is there a few like what are your favorites?
Uh, I'd say one of my favorites, if we're not talking about like, there's festivals that are just they're great every time. So the National Musician Festival is awesome. Uh, there's a venue up in Circleville, Ohio, that's one of my favorites. It's called Toodles,
Yeah.
and if you've heard that song "Country Squire" by Tyler Childers,
Yeah.
he talks about
Yeah.
Circleville playing at Toodles. That whole scene up there is it's just a good crowd. That's really what makes a venue too. It's you can have cool venues like
Yeah.
obviously the Borough in Lexington was a really cool place to play, but it's more about the people that come and listen. If you're gonna come and sit down and be respectful and listen to the artist, then chances are the artist is gonna like the venue.
Well,
So
that's actually pretty funny. My roommate, he's from Circleville.
no way.
Yeah. So I guess my second question off that is, are you gonna be there again sometime soon?
I'll be there for the pumpkin show.
Yeah, dude, the Circleville Pumpkin Show. Dude,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to do. I've always wanted to go. Like last year, he's like, "We got to go," and I was like, "Dude, what?" A bunch of like, that's gonna make my reason to go. I'll go with them this year. That's crazy. That's so
Oh
funny.
yeah, dude. I think I'm playing on the Thursday of Pumpkin Show, so you guys will have to make it out.
Yeah. So that was honestly my next question. Like, when are you gonna be in Ohio next? But so then my next one, I guess, would be like, how many guitars have you had in your life or your career?
I started out on an old Alvarez. I was probably 18. So my dad had a pawn shop. He opened it the year I was born. So I spent a lot of time around guitars and stuff. I never really picked one up and started messing with it until I was about 18, and realized I wasn't gonna continue to play sports. So I played that one, 2 or 3 years until I got to the point where I could play some covers, and that was about it. And then I'd say as like a sophomore, junior in college, I kind of picked it back up and started playing, getting more serious with it. And I was working in my dad's pawn shop, and picked up this old Blue Ridge, and just within 10 seconds of playing it, I was like, I got to have this one. So I switched to that. That was my second guitar, and then I had that was my main guitar up until about 2 weeks ago. I just got a sponsorship from Wise Construction, and they bought me a new Guild D20 guitar. So that's what I've been playing for the past couple weeks. My third guitar. So
Yeah, that's wild. Last two questions. So I had to ask because I forgot. What was your time at like Eastern Kentucky like for you?
what was that?
What was your time at EKU like for you?
Oh, it was something. It was I was there for 6 years. because science classes don't really transfer over to art classes.
Yeah,
So I kind of restarted as a, going into my junior year. It was I'd say probably the most developmental years of my life.
yeah,
I went through a couple different relationships,
yeah,
spent a lot of time at the bar and
yeah,
at house parties and stuff. So
yeah,
I probably could have taken classes a little bit more serious, but it was a good time.
yeah,
Uh, I'm I'm dating the girl that I started dating in college now, so it was a lot of relationships formed and
yeah.
a lot of memories made.
Yeah, that's what I would say. The last one I always like finish off with it, but like when your career's like over down the line, how do you want to be remembered? It's kind of a tough one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just want to be remembered as someone who stayed true to themselves and, kind of went against the normal status quo. I don't ever want to be a sellout.
Yeah,
As long as I'm making stuff that makes me happy,
yeah,
then I don't really care how people perceive me. As long as I leave something behind for the people that did support and
yeah,
want to continue to listen and tell their kids or whoever. As long as I'm remembered in some way by my kids, then I'll be
yeah.
happy.
Yeah, well, Hunter, I appreciate you coming on, man. It means a lot, and wish you best luck with everything. When you're in Ohio, I'll see you.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Hopefully, I'll see you at the pumpkin show.